Hey there, and welcome to the Reflux Revolution podcast. I'm Molly Pelletier, registered dietitian, reflux and GERD specialist, founder of Flora Nutrition, and a former GERD sufferer myself for over a decade. I've been where you are, frustrated, overwhelmed, and unsure if relief is even possible. On this podcast, we cut through the noise with practical, evidence-based strategies so you can understand and manage your reflux with confidence. Quick disclaimer, the information shared here is educational only. It's not meant to diagnose, treat, or cure any condition. Always consult your healthcare professional before making any changes to your treatment plan. So testing is so helpful and also not helpful at the same time. We're going to be talking today about all different types of testing, why it matters, when you would want to do it, and some key things to keep in mind with each type of reflux testing. So if you've been dealing with reflux symptoms like the burning, throat clearing, constant need to check how your stomach or esophagus feels, you've probably wondered, why can't anyone tell me what the root cause is of this feeling? Why can't anyone tell me what's going on? And I remember feeling the exact same way. I had seen multiple doctors, tried different medications, and I still didn't have clear answers. It wasn't until I understood the different types of testing to ask for that I was finally able to make sense of my symptoms and could start making informed choices about my healing. But here's the truth, not all reflux is the same. Not everyone will be able to pinpoint their exact root cause via testing, but it's important to note some people have the classic acid reflux like GERD, heartburn symptoms, regurgitation. Other people have LPR, which is more of the respiratory throat, silent reflux type symptoms. Others may have reflux as a result of other digestive issues like SIBO. Let me know if you want me to make a podcast episode on SIBO. I'd be happy to do that. Or it might be more of a motility problem, a gastric motility, stomach emptying type problem. Testing helps your care team kind of make sense of this and understand which is contributing or which multiple root contributors are contributing to your symptoms so that you can stop guessing and start addressing the real issue. So let's start with the barium swallow and endoscopy. These are the two ones that are probably going to be recommended first to you if you're dealing with persistent reflux. A barium swallow or a barium esophagram is called an upper GI series. Sometimes it's usually one of the first imaging tests ordered. You basically drink a chalky liquid that coats your stomach and esophagus, and x-rays are taken as you swallow. What does it show? It helps to identify any structural issues, things like a hiatal hernia, strictures, narrowing of the esophagus, or even abnormal food or liquid patterns. It's a helpful screening tool and it can show mechanical reflux. Now, not all reflux is caused by mechanical reflux, but it can be a helpful screening tool. It also doesn't tell you the pH of the reflux, if it's acidic or non-acidic reflux, but it's helpful big picture view. Now, an endoscopy, also known as an EGD, is more detailed. This is where a camera is passed down your throat so your doctor can look directly in your esophagus, your stomach, and your upper small intestine. It shows irritation, inflammation, esophagitis, gastritis, duodenitis, even early damage from reflux, Barrett's esophagus. It's also used to rule out other conditions that can cause or mimic reflux like eosinophilic esophagitis, H. pylori infection. There also will be biopsies taken for celiac disease. So really helpful to kind of see what's going on underneath the hood. It can also look for hiatal hernia and strictures, Schatzki's rings, things like that. Many people, though, have a negative or a normal endoscopy. And I know that's really frustrating when you're dealing with tons of symptoms. It can kind of make you feel like it's all in your head. But just because you don't have visible damage does not mean that you're not dealing with reflux. This is kind of where the next round of testing comes in. And the next one I want to talk about is kind of the gold standard. So that's pH impedance testing, or pH testing is the broad category. And in that category, there's the Bravo test and the pH impedance test. The Bravo is a small capsule that's placed in your esophagus during an endoscopy. It measures acid over a 48 to 96 hour test, and it wirelessly sends data to a small recorder that you wear. It is more comfortable than the 24-hour pH impedance test. You can eat and kind of move normally during the test. On the other hand, pH impedance test is a thin catheter that's placed through your nose into your esophagus. It's not super comfortable, it's not glamorous, but it's very informative, and it measures both acid and non-acid reflux, and it also tracks how far the reflux travels. So for LPR, this is one of the gold standard tests because it measures proximal reflux, and proximal means it comes into the throat. So again, especially helpful for those with LPR because it can detect reflux that's not acidic, which often gets missed on the Bravo test. Both tests also record symptom association, which is really important, meaning that you actually press a button when you feel symptoms. This will give you a symptom association score, which can tell us like, okay, when you're burping, that means there's reflux, or when there's throat pain, that means there's reflux, or heartburn, you don't necessarily have reflux. Like it can really help with understanding your symptoms. Later, your doctor can see whether reflux occurred at that time and create that symptom association score. Super helpful for confirming whether reflux is the cause of your symptoms. So if you've been told your symptoms are reflux but PPIs haven't helped, the pH test could give you some clarity. Now let's talk about manometry. This is like a lesser known one that I feel like not a lot of people know to ask for, but this would be like the next phase of testing that I might consider with a client. And this is one of the major things that we help our clients do in one-on-one sessions, or just one of the things. But we really want to help you have good conversations with your doctor. Sometimes we'll even call your doctor and advocate for these types of tests if we think it's necessary. But going in with the right questions is super important and can really help you not feel like you're at a dead end and help you get real answers. So the manometry test measures how your esophagus moves and how well your lower esophageal sphincter, this valve between the esophagus and the stomach, functions. It also can measure the upper esophageal sphincter pressure. It's done using a similar catheter through the nose, and it evaluates how coordinated and how strong your swallowing muscles are. So it can evaluate for esophageal dysmotility. Not comfortable. I've had a lot of clients tell me that this is not fun, but can be really helpful. And some people have reflux symptoms because the esophagus isn't moving properly. This is really helpful if you suspect achalasia, if you feel like acid is lingering or food is lingering in your esophagus longer than it should be. Others might have a weak sphincter, and this can really help us deduce, okay, we need to work on your lower esophageal sphincter strength. Understanding this can be really, really important if you're considering reflux surgery as well. So, or if your symptoms are not responding to typical treatment, this would be a really good next step as well. Now, shifting gears, if you're not only dealing with reflux, but you're also dealing with bloating, bowel irregularities, digestive upset, food sensitivities, we might want to think more about the microbiome and more about addressing your digestive function and the balance of your microbes as a whole. So SIBO testing, or small intestinal bacterial overgrowth testing, looks for excess bacteria in the small intestine that can contribute to bloating, pressure, or even reflux symptoms, constipation, diarrhea. It's a simple test that measures hydrogen and methane gases after you drink a sugar solution. If you've ever felt like your reflux is worse when you're bloated or constipated, SIBO could be a part of the picture here. Treating it can often reduce pressure in the gut, which in turn reduces reflux episodes. So if you're waking up really bloated, you're feeling like 9 months pregnant bloated, by the end of the day, this is something to think about. Now, let's also talk about functional GI map testing. And so this is something that we do with our clients and can really give us a good look at how the microbiome is looking at a whole. So because this is a stool test, this is giving us a snapshot of your large intestine microbiome. This is a stool that looks at inflammatory markers, digestive enzyme levels, potentially bacterial overgrowths, H. pylori in the stool, and also certain immune markers. While it's not diagnostic for reflux, it can reveal underlying imbalances or even infections that make reflux worse, like dysbiosis, inflammation, poor bile metabolism, poor digestion. We often use this in our one-on-one sessions to inform our protocols when someone is feeling like they have like their diet figured out, they have their nervous system habits dialed in, their mealtime hygiene habits dialed in, but they're just not making progress. This is a great next step. It gives us a more complete picture of what's happening below the surface. And for many clients, it's that combination of traditional testing plus functional insights that really helps us push the needle. So if you are curious more about any of these tests, let me know in the comments. I'd be happy to make a more in-depth video diving into any of these tests. But thank you so much for listening to today's episode about testing for reflux. Remember, testing isn't just about collecting data for data's sake. It's about understanding your body's story so you and your care team can make the best next steps possible for you. If you want more guidance on testing, nutrition, supplement protocols, interpreting lab tests, head to www.flora-nutrition.com where I share resources, programs, one-to-one support for those with reflux, GERD, LPR, digestive issues. If this episode helped you, please subscribe, leave a review, and share it with a friend who's struggling with reflux. Until next time, remember, you can take control of your reflux and your body is on your team. See you in the next episode.